Today we are going to see 3 phrases or linguistic strategies you can use whenever you get stuck in a conversation, maybe with somebody you don't like, maybe with somebody you like, just how to get out of being stuck when somebody is trying to control the conversation or is kind of not really letting you speak, and how can you defend yourself to some extent in such a situation. The first one, and I know it will be uncomfortable for some people, it is to refrain, develop the habit of refraining yourself from arguing about a topic you don't have legitimate details about or over, or legitimate experience into. One main big mistake many people do is trying to convince only by repeating what they heard somebody else say. Somebody else who may be very knowledgeable about the topic, but since they themselves don't have actual experience in the thing they are talking about, or actual metrics, details about the thing they are talking about, or context, historical background about it, they may be completely clueless about how to really present that idea to somebody who disagrees. For example, pretty recently I had a discussion about climate. My views on that are pretty at least slightly more optimistic than the one of the guy I was talking to, and the problem was he clearly knew way more than I do about the topic. Initially I was telling him I do not believe it is as bad as some media makes it appear, etc., and he was preaching that no, it is really that bad and even worse than what the media says, and I only had one proof to explain what I was talking about, my perception, and it was not coming from me, it was coming from a book I read from a guy who maybe knew about it, but I was not educated on the topic, whereas this guy I was talking to clearly knew about the topic in deep details. What I did during that encounter was to say, oh, okay, indeed I was not aware of those details. My perspective on that is, even not knowing more, I choose to be optimistic about it. And curiously he said, okay, I respect that. Because I stopped trying to devalue his knowledge compared to mine. I accepted that there are some topics I am not the most knowledgeable person onto. If you try to argue with me about hypnosis, how NLP works, how psychology works, how different psychological concepts, you better be well in shape to argue against me. However, for somebody who has just more knowledge than I do on a topic I don't really know about, I am also willing to say, okay, I'm not educated on that. I may know a few things, but if I know less than somebody else, I will just say that clearly, and that will make that person respect my opinion in turn. At least it will make him more likely to respect my opinion, even if we have some disagreement. The second strategy or secret is kind of what I did on this one, but you can go way deeper on this. It is whenever you sense some resistance. So when you say something and the person just tries to disagree, countlessly trying to explain to you why you're wrong, because this, because that. In that case, also avoid mentioning things into your own name, at least in the beginning of the conversation. What I mean by that is, don't say clearly what you think, say what you think by quoting somebody else, at least in the beginning, just to measure the temperature, to measure where your opponent is at. So instead of saying, I believe in this president, this politician, whatever, I may just say, oh, I saw a TV show lately where they talked about this president, and what they said about him piqued my curiosity, and I wondered if it was true. What are your thoughts on that? Okay, you just mention what you think deep down. If you really like this politician or whatever, you mention what you think deep down, but you mention it at first by quoting somebody else. And then you ask, tell me, what are your thoughts on that? Can I learn about what you think about this? You will just know where the person is at, considering your opinion. And from there, you know if it is just basically pointless to get into a discussion because maybe the person is extremely stubborn, stuck-minded, like completely closed to any ideas that they didn't think about earlier. If that is the case, also the one clear thing I'm doing pretty often is to just leave. I'm not really interested into investing my time and energy on people who are completely stuck, stubborn, stuck-minded, like they never want to learn about anything new. At some point, people who have zero curiosity are just don't belong in my life anyway. So if I sense the temperature and the person is extremely close to stubborn, I will just politely excuse myself and leave. And if the person say, oh yeah, we will catch up later, yeah, for sure we will. And then we will basically never catch up again because I don't care. Some people might recognize themselves if they see that video someday, whatever, I don't care. So it is just about noticing where the person is at and picking your fight. If you want to get into an argument with somebody, why? Basically, why? Is it really going to bring something to your life to get into an argument with this person, with that person? What is it going to bring to you? Just ego validation, because you will feel stronger if you can beat the opponent? If it is only for that, then people will just keep attacking you non-stop for no reason, because you will give that vibe to others. So just elaborate where the person is at, what is your opinion on the matter, and are you really interested into getting into a verbal confrontation with that person, yes or not? If yes, why? Very few people I really get into, not confrontations, but thorough discussions among people in my personal group of relationships. The only cases where I would go there is if I really care about the person and about our relationship. I would really take the time to explain why my opinion is this, why do I think like that. And even then I wouldn't be confrontational. I would be like educating the person. And in any case, if it is somebody close to me, I know that person is open enough to hear that at least there might be things he or she doesn't know about the topic. People I keep close to me are never really close-minded anyway, so it's pretty fine. And in those contexts, I will take the time to really elaborate on what I think, why do I think this and that, etc. But if it is somebody I really don't care about and don't really even want to form any partnership or relationship with, you know, as the years go by, I'm just like, whatever, just get rid of that person and move on to something else. And number 3 is if it is in a context, therefore, where you really want to engage into the conversation, maybe the argument eventually, if it is something required for whatever reason right here. If you are about to get into an exchange where you will have to persuade the person for whatever reason, then one extremely clever language pattern I have found over the years is I used to think like you. So pacing and leading, I used to think like you, and there are 3 things that made me change my mind. So this phrase has several Milton model language patterns hidden inside it. The first one is obviously the pacing and leading. So you agree, even if you never agreed deep down, but you mentioned that you have been agreeing with them at some point, and now you change your mind. So you don't resist their opinion. You accept, you validate their opinion because you say you were part of that yourself. I used to think like you, and there are 3 reasons that made me change. The point of saying 3 reasons is, first of all, that it is an ordinal number. So from the linguistic presuppositions of the Milton model, an ordinal number is going to ease down or literally shut down sometimes the conscious resistance, because when you say 3 reasons, the person is, as a social norm, waiting to hear about the last one before they argue. So you have time to develop without them interrupting you. And second of all, if you mention in those 3 reasons a higher source of authority, then another person around you, and then your own opinion, the magical number 3 will make a special hit in the unconscious mind of the person and will make them more compelled to agree with what you are talking about. And the sources you mentioned may not even be real. It may just be 3 versions of what you say yourself, but mentioning a higher source of authority, so some social proof, then another person who may just be a friend of yours, your sister, whatever, whoever you mention, who think in the same way that you, and then what made you change your opinion yourself. So a small life story. When this happened to me, I developed my understanding that this is how I think about that. Then the person, whoever they are, will have an extremely hard time arguing with you, even more if you have been setting some respect from the beginning of the conversation. It will get way harder for them to contradict, react in a negative way. However, the presupposition behind being able to use a language pattern like this one is that you have legitimately, thoroughly investigated your own topic. It means that you know your topic, the thing you are talking about, well enough to be able to explain in 3 different ways why you think this way, to even sometimes create new stories, but that are based on reality, that are based on details that you have really investigated yourself. It's not just, I am right because I want to be right. No, like what specifically did you learn? What are the sources you have educated yourself with that made you come to the conclusion that you believe in X or Y? The more you know about it, the less somebody will be able to argue against you. If you want to learn more about that, you have a document in the description called the 7 Steps to Master Sleight of Mouth. It will be of immense help whenever you are in a verbal confrontation, or if you want to help somebody change their mind in a coaching session, somebody who has been asking you to help them uncover some deeper limitations. How can you guide their mind to uncover such limitations and heal or reframe them linguistically? It will help you with that, and with that in mind, I wish you a happy new year once again, and see you in the next video.